Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of The Highlight. Today, we are talking HIV and how it impacts our community. Stay tuned. All right, ladies. Today we're talking about a very serious topic. We live here in Atlanta, so this impacts a lot of the people that we know, a lot of our friends, family, and I just thought it was a great topic to kind of touch on. And we have a guest here today who's going to help us work through this conversation, Miss Shayna Green. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here.
Yes,
welcome,
Shayna.
Glad to have you. And so one thing we know is that HIV impacts black women 15 times the rate that it does white women. And it's one of the leading causes of death in our community. Talk to me about that and why you think that is. Like, what is it about our community that's making us stand out in that way?
So, over the years, the diagnoses among women has actually declined, and also among black women as well has declined. However, there's a major disparity between black and white women.
Yeah.
So, we recently found out that if you look at the trends over time, that if we were to have the same type of equity or the same type of access to resources or prevention, all those things, we could avert, or a lot of cases would be eliminated. Thousands of cases among black women would be eliminated. And some of the reasons why we're experiencing these higher rates of HIV diagnoses among black women, especially, is because of access to different resources like PrEP or condom use or even support services. Among women especially, they have difficulty talking to their partners about safe sex or using condoms in their relationship. So there are a lot of factors that are affecting black women that are causing this disparity, especially among black women.
And you mentioned PrEP. Tell us a little bit more about that, because some people might not know what PrEP is.
I don't know what that is.
So PrEP is pre-exposure prophylaxis. And so what that means is it will reduce your likelihood of HIV transmission through sexual contact.
Okay.
And so
if I take it before I have sex or after I have sex with someone who is HIV positive, that will diminish my risk of contracting HIV.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily you take it right before.
Okay.
The idea is that you would take one pill a day and to reduce your likelihood over time.
I think I saw a commercial about this. It's like the HIV prevention pill.
Yeah.
But it's not, no medicine is guaranteed. But is it 100% or?
So the likelihood of your transmission risk being reduced is really high. It's upwards in the 90% range of reducing your
that's pretty
risk
good.
if you take it every single day. And this pill is actually a pill that people who are diagnosed with HIV actually take. It's the Truvada pill. And so you take it as a person who is HIV negative on a daily basis, once a day, and that will reduce your likelihood if you were to have sex with someone who is also HIV positive. And that will prevent you from getting HIV.
Now, what are the? What are the side effects? Because this is apparently a very strong drug, and you have to take it every day. It's not like you could just take it when you're about to have sex. So I can only imagine that there are some side effects.
So the side effects are the same as if you didn't have HIV. So some of the side effects are nausea. You might lose weight and things like that. It is a very strong pill because it is fighting a very intense virus. But for people who are living with HIV, but for someone who is not living with HIV, it's really trying to protect you.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of side effects, and that's probably some of the reasons why a lot of people don't want to take it. But you have to think about the greater good that you're going to receive from it, which is, especially if you are in a partnership with someone who is living with HIV, because there are tons of people who are in serodiscordant relationships, meaning that one partner is living with HIV and the other partner is not.
Wow.
And so if you are in that situation, you definitely want to protect yourself.
For sure.
And going back to the access thing, you said access to these kinds of drugs in terms of, and that's your question.
I was wondering like who obviously this is not an over the counter type drug. You're going to be going to the doctor requesting. So I guess people you tell me if this is the scenario. People would go to their doctor and be like, I am sexually active. I'm not sure who's what or what's what. I feel like I want to get on this pill regimen. Is that how they would go to their doctor?
So you would go to your healthcare provider and you would get a prescription for the PrEP And ideally, what would be happening as well is if you are in a relationship with someone who is living with HIV, that their provider would actually recommend that you get on the pill.
Okay.
So it should be from both directions, that the providers are, telling the people living with HIV that, hey, if you are living with a partner or having sex with a partner that is HIV negative, you want to protect them. But also, you as a person who is HIV negative should also go to your provider and ask for this prescription. But I will say that the PrEP pill is very expensive. It's about $2,500 a month for a 30-day supply for the PrEP pill. However, there are tons of resources out there.
Isn't that crazy? And that goes back to
right.
And that goes back to the access. And I think that's why it speaks to why a lot of Black women may be contracting this disease, because they might not be able to afford.
And I guess too, that's the correlation between these cities that have a higher rate of people living with HIV. Because I know for me, being a South Carolinian, Orangeburg, South Carolina, I don't know if this is still true, but as of 2 years ago, it's like the number one city of people living with the HIV virus in South Carolina. And I'm guessing it's because it's not one of the richest cities, and not to put Orangeburg down, it's beautiful in its own right, just as any city is, but I guess that goes back to the resources or lack thereof. That's the only thing I could really think of. So I'm thinking just like, why,
Yeah, so we need to be equipped with, access, so physical places to go to, but we also need resources for people to have health insurance or vouchers. Yes. And some of those things are in place, so there are resources for people who are interested in PrEP to be able to lower that cost. But people need to know about it, because the first thing that's going to come to someone's mind is, I don't have money to, do that, and they're going to either not protect themselves or do other things that, aren't as effective as PrEP. But there are resources out there, and insurance is one way, but there are, the drug companies do offer vouchers as well to reduce the price.
Okay. So one of my questions is too, there are so many misconceptions about HIV, the transmission of it, living with it, this and the other. But what do you feel from your own personal experience, from your own personal research? Like, what is the biggest misconception of the virus and living with HIV?
So I think one of the long-standing myths is that people feel like you can look at someone and know that they have HIV. But that's not the case. And especially nowadays, we have people who have been living with HIV since, the
Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson. Doing well.
People have been living with it for over 30 years. They've been survivors, living with it. And they look like any other person. Right. And that's really a testament to the medications that are available today to, allow people to live really healthy lives. So that's one thing, is you can't really judge a person and know what they actually have going on the inside. So you need to protect yourself. You need to ask the questions when you're dating someone. Get tested for sure, and make sure that you are taking precautions, like using condoms. And then if you are in a relationship with someone who is living with HIV, that you consider prevention methods like Truvada.
How often should people get tested? Because I know sometimes people test too early, and they may get a result that isn't an accurate result because they've tested too early, like right after they've had unprotected sex. So what is the time frame?
So there is a window period for when someone is infected with HIV, and then at the point which tests would be able to detect whether or not they are infected. And that's usually 3 weeks, but a lot of the tests are getting a little bit more sensitive, and they're able to pick this up earlier on. However, you should be tested, every single adult should be tested for HIV on an annual basis, regardless of your risk factors. You could be married, you could have one partner, you could have probably never had sex, but just get in the habit, of getting tested. Look at it as any other test, like getting tested for cholesterol, testing for your high blood pressure. Make sure that you get your HIV test, and if your doctor is not testing you for that, you need to be your own advocate and ask for an HIV test on an annual basis.
That's good.
And it's one of those things too, like a good best practices for women, especially when we go for our annual checkups. Your gynecologist, but men, it is your responsibility as well to get tested.
Exactly. Right. I had a question about, because I have an acquaintance, and they got to the point where they were undetectable. And I had no idea that you could get to a point where you're undetectable. And so could you talk a little bit about being undetectable and exactly what that means.
Mm-hmm. So undetectable means that your viral load or the amount of virus that is in your body that can be detected is very low. So it means that you can't actually, the test cannot pick up any amounts of virus in your body. So it's so low that, it's just not showing up. And the good thing is if you are able to achieve an undetectable viral load and you're able to achieve it over a period of time, not just a one-time thing, over a period of time, your likelihood of transmitting the virus is very, extremely low. Almost, almost impossible, but that's what the evidence is showing, that it's very, very hard for you to transmit
And
the
so many
virus.
people don't know that. They just assume that if you have HIV,
You're dying.
It's the boogeyman, and, you're going to pass it on to me. I'm going to die. And it's just, I think it's really important to remove that stigma. That's a great question.
Yes.
To remove that stigma and really educate ourselves on what the truth is.
So what is it? How do their viral loads, you say, get so low? Is it because they got on a medication quick enough? Did they catch it fast enough?
Healthy
what is it?
lifestyle.
A healthy lifestyle? What is it?
So that's a really good question. So you don't have to catch it early or, get on medication early. You can become undetectable at any point. So if you were at some point, detectable, and then later on you can become detectable. So it's not like, one shot, and then you miss your opportunity to become undetectable. How you become undetectable is from taking your medications on a daily basis and being adherent to the regimen that your doctor provides to you, because it starts to reduce the viral load in your body.
So that goes back to the access point of you may not be able to take your medicine every day. So then you're not undetectable, and then you're more likely to transmit.
Yeah, and it's really sometimes, with the healthcare system, you have issues where you know that you need to be on a medication. This could be any type of medication, right? And then your doctor is asking you to come in to see them before they refill the prescription. And you're like, I need the medication.
Right.
Just refill the prescription. And that's actually one of the barriers that a lot of people face, is because they can't actually
Get there.
Get into
Transportation.
the doctor to actually get, But it makes sense because they do want to monitor your labs to make sure that you're at the right dosage for your medication. But it tends to be a barrier for some people to actually come into the doctor on a regular basis and then get their prescription refilled. But there are other issues. Some people just don't have a tolerance for the medication that they're on. Some other social, factors in their lives that might affect their ability to stay adherent to the medication. But if you are adherent to your medication, eventually you will become undetectable, and you will reduce the likelihood that you can transmit the virus to another person.
And sometimes people, if you feel good, you just stop taking. Like for me, the doctor gives me antibiotics, and I start feeling good. I'm like, I don't need any more of these.
It's happened. It's happened to us all.
That's so true. That's a
It's
good point.
gone.
But
And
this is a very hopeful conversation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Very hopeful. I feel really, really good about this in our community. So,
yes.
Seriously, and I feel like we can harp on this so much longer than what we're, allotted in this time frame. But so tell us how we can get in contact with you, stay connected, and how our sweet viewers, our highlighters, can do the same.
So you can definitely, I publish a lot on this topic, so you can definitely reach out if you have any questions to me, and look out for all of the work that I do related to HIV.
Okay.
And stay on top of it. Do your research. Stay abreast. Follow different resources that are out there for women and HIV. There are a lot of organizations that tweet about this topic, and try to keep everyone up to date.
and what does HIV mean?
Yes. Because we quizzed each other earlier, and some of us didn't know.
It's like the HIV. Okay, what is HIV?
So yeah, it actually is something that a lot of people, we've been talking about it for so long, you tend to forget what it actually means.
Yeah.
So HIV means human immunodeficiency virus.
Okay.
And so it's exactly what it is. It's for humans, and then it reduces your immune system's ability to actually work.
My question that I wanted to ask before we go to break, what's the difference between HIV and AIDS?
Ooh.
Okay, so HIV is the virus that actually infects a person and makes them unhealthy, right? But then AIDS is actually a syndrome. So it actually is a cluster of different illnesses that a person will get because they have a high viral load. They start to, get different symptoms. They start to feel worse. They might even get other opportunistic infections
Like pneumonia.
Other STIs, and just other things. And all of those things cluster together become AIDS when your viral load is so low. Your body just can't
fight off
anything.
Because your immune
Can't.
system is
It just
so
can't.
Yeah.
weak. Wow. Okay.
Well, Shayna, this has been very informative,
Yes.
and we thank you for your time.
Yes.
Hopefully, you guys learned something at home. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with a young lady who is living with HIV. Stay tuned.
Want to join the conversation? Follow us at the official page of the Highlight TV on Instagram and Twitter.
All right, guys, we are back, and we have our guest here, Miss Cece.
Hi,
She's
Cece.
FaceTiming us from Philly. How are you?
Welcome.
Good.
Awesome.
Hopefully, you can hear us. So today's show, as you know, we're talking about HIV, the impact on our community, and we're talking to you today because you are living with HIV. And we want to ask you a couple of questions because we feel like the conversation we're going to have today is going to really help a lot of people,
Yes.
and it's going to impact our community in ways that we can't even imagine.
Yes.
All right? And so my first question to you is, how old were you when you were diagnosed? And kind of walk me through that day. What happened that day?
Okay. So I went to the clinic to go get birth control. This was in a very small town in Georgia. So I'm not sure if they're just not used to seeing very many HIV cases there, but they definitely were not prepared to diagnose someone with HIV.
Really?
So that was the Friday I took the test. Wednesday was the call back. So, maybe I thought maybe it would be something irregular, like maybe I had some bacteria or maybe
Right.
something stupid like chlamydia
Right.
again. But no, this time it was HIV. So the lady's like, your syphilis, your gonorrhea, and your herpes all came back negative, but your HIV came back positive. So that is the moment that changed my life. Like I can't even explain in words really the feeling at that moment. Like you go into the clinic and you think that you're HIV negative, and now you walk out knowing that you're HIV positive.
Right.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
And then you had to wait a whole month before I could even see a doctor because once again the clinic was not prepared to, diagnose or treat someone with HIV. So there was a specialty care clinic which was about 45 minutes to an hour away from where we were living, and within those 30 days I Googled, and everything on Google gave me a life expectancy. Like,
Never Google.
Right.
Never Google.
Google, honey, will put us all in the casket
Never
today.
Google.
Like, no. And, just looking for some hope and some inspiration. And at that moment, Magic Johnson, I would say, would be the only one that I would know living with HIV.
Right.
But then we in the community that we in, and we don't really want to believe that he's being treated. Everybody wants to believe that there has been a cure released and that he is one that has been cured of it. That's for the conspiracies. But in real life, medication, I attest to that. Like, I believe in it so much. I've been able to have a baby HIV negative.
Yes. So you're undetectable.
So, yeah, okay.
So,
Yeah.
Terica.
So you're what? Because we just learned about being undetectable by taking your medications. So you're undetectable.
Yes.
Praise.
Oh, wow.
Praise God.
Thing going on right now called U equals U. So this undetectable equals untransmissible.
Yes.
So that is being backed by the CDC now, which is major strides because for so long, I was diagnosed in 08. So in just those 10, 11 years, at the beginning of my diagnosis, they would say, okay, well, your blood work is coming back undetectable, which means that there's no virus in your fluids.
Right.
There's a 2% chance that you'll pass it to someone if you have unprotected sex with them. So for so long, I'm going around as someone who is diagnosed with HIV, like, okay, I can have sex with you, but there's still like a 2% chance that I'm going to. And to someone who is living with the virus, that's psychologically damaging.
Yes.
But that is not what science is showing, and that's not what science is proving. What they're proving is that if you are undetectable at least 6 months or more due to your medication, then you are unable to transmit HIV through sexual contact. That's what it should be. That's what it should have been. But we're not looking in the past.
I
Right.
love that.
We're
right.
moving forward.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. And I love the fact that congratulations on your beautiful son. I know
Yes.
he's amazing. But even further, what is the conversation like in dating and living with the virus? Are you still communicating that with your partner that you are living with the virus? And what is your advice to people who are living with the virus and wanting to date but are afraid to have that conversation with the person that they're interested in?
That is so hard. Like, dating, period, we know is hard. But then having to add that element of, I'm living with HIV. So, for so long, I felt like damaged goods. Like, you know, I have the degrees. I know how to clean. I know how to do all this other stuff like that society told me a woman should. But then I got HIV. So there's this self-stigma that comes with it. And I feel like that a lot of times affects how we present that to someone else. So if I'm coming to you all dreary and you know low about it, then you're going to receive it that way. But if I come to you prepared and knowledgeable and able to answer questions if you have them, and if I can refer you to a resource, like that person is that much more willing to you know, at least listen. Now that doesn't mean that everybody is staying, because now I'm engaged. So
Congratulations! Yes, congratulations.
So we've been engaged, you know, for like a year and some change. This would be my second marriage. I got married as soon as I got diagnosed. I was diagnosed in 2008. I met him shortly after the diagnosis, and he was the first guy, and I thought that because he said he loved me and I had HIV meant that he really loved me.
Right.
And I was like, yo, and then we got pregnant with this boy. And it didn't turn out the way that I thought it would. So I'm like, okay, so now I gotta get back out here. So now I'm back out here, a single mom with HIV. Yo, okay.
I love her.
But I love, you said something so important that you felt like damaged goods for so long.
Yes.
And I feel like your story is going to give so many people so much hope because you're engaged, you're living a beautiful life. And when I look at your Instagram profile, I get happy, I get excited because you're exuding so much confidence and so much happiness. And I want to talk about your platform. Why are you using your platform in the way that you're using it? Why did you decide to tell the world? Because you didn't have to share this with us.
Right.
Why did you decide to tell the world about your diagnosis?
First of all, I was just being obedient. So that's the only thing that I can say.
Come on.
I have always spoken about my virus. My first presentation was to my cohort at the University of Georgia, like 200
Come on,
students.
cohort.
I got diagnosed in June. That was in September I gave that presentation. So I've always been very open because, you know, if I've been through it, I mean, that you could go through it, and I want to save you from that because I didn't think I could get it.
Anybody can go through it. That's important.
Yeah.
Anybody, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's so important. There's a stigma around HIV, and I want everyone to know that anybody can get HIV.
Yes, and you do not know.
And if you're having sex and you're having unprotected sex or you're anything, you can get HIV. So I want that to be known. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There wasn't no special position.
Right.
And another thing I feel is rather is worth noting is it's not just through sex in which you can get this disease. There are other ways. We talked about needles and any way that a bodily fluid is exchanged or transmitted, you can get the virus.
Like the major ways, of course, is sex, and then you have breast milk and the IV blood, the transfusions, and I feel like I'm forgetting away. Childbirth. Okay, so a lot of us feel like, because we're not doing 3 out of the 4, that, our chances are slimmer, and that's not necessarily what the case is. To go even deeper, not to scare nobody, but I know somebody who caught the virus in a relationship, which was an abusive relationship. So not only was she getting her butt kicked by this dude, but he also brought her back this virus. And you wouldn't think that if you in a monogamous relationship, you wouldn't think you need to still be out there getting tested, but yes, you do.
So what was your friends and family, their reactions to it? When did you tell them, and how did they react? How did they feel about it?
Okay, so my mom was the first to know, and she's like my cancer. She's so sensitive. We cried for 3 days. But then she's also my strength, because on the 3rd day, she put on Yolanda Adams, Live in Washington, right? And it's the battle is not yours, it's the Lord.
Yes.
We're talking this part about like how he got to do this. It's not going to always be good, but he got to do it so that he could take you around the enemies and show them that he know how to hide you. Like, although I'm not a Christian any longer, I practice from all of them. And that line right there was like, Okay. So I was able to change my perception from that moment that I was positive a month ago and I didn't know, but I was still able to smile. So why I can't smile today?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's stupid.
Yeah.
You can do what you need to do to live healthy.
And you're still you. You're still who you are.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. The inside of you is what it is. Okay? And so I just want to make that point. Just because you're diagnosed with a disease or whatever the case may be, it doesn't change who you are, the things that you can accomplish in life. All right?
So I love your spirit, by the way. You are so full of joy. I just absolutely love it. You bring this whole entire conversation so much hope. Because if I had to be honest, when we first brought it up, everybody's like, are you sure? Are you sure? But you are totally releasing the stigma. You are totally freeing people by this. So thank you, by the way.
Thank you.
My question, though, because you're so full of joy now, I can only imagine, though, the level of self-care and the therapy and the mental turmoil that you had to go through to get to this point. Have you had therapy before? And if you did, what were some of the steps to get to this place, to take your happy back, to take your joy back?
All of that happened before HIV.
Ooh.
HIV was just the icing on the cake.
Come on. Okay, help us out.
So can we talk about like the childhood molestation and the depression and suicide attempts and watching parents not get along, those types of things. So all of us cope with those things differently.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine was sex. Like I was just out there looking for that love, and this is where I ended up. So my story mimics so many other ones.
Yeah.
Before we even get to HIV.
Yeah.
So we want to catch them before we get there.
Yeah.
Like,
So
let's
good.
talk about that self-love. How if you don't love you, nobody else is going to love you.
Yeah.
And everybody else is just a human. Like they're a human.
Yeah.
And we get so caught up in how others will perceive and judge us. And
Yes.
we don't just truly live.
Yes.
And it is what it is. I don't need not one more of y'all to like me.
Woo! Girl, you just gave me chills, girl.
And from this conversation, we are loving you, sister.
You got four more.
You
have four more.
And we want to thank you for sharing your story.
Yes.
Because this is going to touch so many lives. This is going to touch so many people. And we hope you continue to do what you're doing and hoping that you use your platform and that it continues to grow and that you continue to spread love and knowledge.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Where can people find you on Instagram?
So if you search the hashtag healing is voluntary, that's my hashtag.
Healing is voluntary.
It's HIV. I took the acronym HIV and turned it into what I wanted it to be. So healing is voluntary. You can take
good.
the same name and put a .com at the end of it. That's my blog. I'm C on Instagram, but it's too many eyes.
We'll tag you from our page.
Yeah,
we will.
Thank you, Cece.
Thank you.
you.
We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
And this was awesome. Y'all have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Want to join the conversation? Follow us at the official page of the Highlight TV on Instagram and Twitter.
Welcome back to The Highlight, where we are talking a very necessary topic, HIV within the Black community and just in general. Of course, we got into a little bit about mental health, and joining us today, we have Miss Miche, a therapist practicing right here in Atlanta, known in the area called Grant Park. So we're going to open up the floor for a little bit of questions to further this discussion in HIV.
Okay, so I have the first question. How does the stigma around this disease, especially in the Black community, affect our mental health?
I think there's a big stigma because, a lot of people come from the churches, and the churches automatically assume that if you have this diagnosis, that sometimes it can be like, oh, we know what you're doing, or how do we get this, or that there's just a really bad connotation that goes with it. So a lot of people don't want to be ostracized. Isolation is a big killer that's only getting bigger as far as people like hiding things and not coming forward to get the treatment and the support that they need.
Yes, so good, girl. Well, we can wrap it right there. Literally, that's everything.
And so in terms of how to deal with a diagnosis like this, and we know sometimes people resort to not so healthy means when it comes to issues that might impact their health. What are some of your suggestions on how to cope with something like this?
Number one, getting into support groups, getting around people who have been dealing with this longer and have found healthy coping mechanisms for it is super important. Also, finding safe people, and the key word there is safe people. Not every person around you will be safe to hold this space for you when you first find out, or even if the disease itself becomes bigger than you originally thought it would be. And so then having those people to be able to say, like, this is what's going on, and to bring them close with you, maybe even to go to some doctor's visits, I think is super important. Being alone in this by yourself would not be advisable. Also, if you're going to like go get tested for the first time, I think sometimes having a before and an aftercare plan for like, okay, how do I make sure that I walk into this feeling my best self? And then regardless of the diagnosis coming out, how do I make sure that I plan for both the positive and the negative so that I'm making sure that I'm okay?
So, Michelle, I know you're a therapist, but your specialty happens to be with relationships. I won't necessarily ask you, have you seen married couples come in and one partner has one, but for someone in a relationship who's with a person who has this disease, how would you advise them? How would you provide them with therapy? What would you say?
A couple or one person?
A couple. If there's a couple that one person may be infected or both, have you seen that before? And if you have, how would you advise?
Sure. Honesty is a really great way of doing that, but the way you're honest is even bigger.
I like that.
So making sure that you have a script, whether you're coming in, like sometimes both couples don't want to come in, they don't want to come in together, so it might be like, I'm having a problem in my marriage, so I'm coming in right now because I just want to vent. Building a script to be able to talk with not only your partner, but the people around you about what's going on, so that not only you feel good about what you're saying, but that they can receive it in a manner that still feels good for the relationship is important.
I think you just really said something there that just dropped like a ton of bricks. It's not about honesty. It's how you're honest. Ooh, that takes it a long way.
Yes, it does.
It's how
I want to
you
go even deeper. Just this is with therapy in general, because I know it wasn't always sexy. A lot of people think, with no, seriously, with therapy, it's you crazy, and it's just like, well, no, actually. But I look at it like this. If our car breaks down or needs a tune-up, we take it to get fixed. If we go get our teeth checked twice a year, we get our eye exam, but no one does anything but the mind, the most valuable asset, and the most, I feel, complex thing that we have. But a lot of people think that they can't afford it.
That's good.
Whereas, like, if your car literally breaks down, you have to get this fixed. But I feel like with the mind or with the brain, sometimes it's too late, and people commit what we know to be suicide. They feel their emptiness, they feel the voids with other unhealthy things. So what could you advise in regards to like the resources and paying for therapy before they get to the place of being broken or feeling like they're going to lose it?
Very good.
You are the one person you spend the most time with. So if your head and your mental space is not healthy, you can't engage with yourself or other people in a positive manner. So, it can be expensive, but there are a lot of therapists out there that will do sliding scales. There's nonprofit organizations. Some people are kind of shy about going to churches, but a lot of churches have clinics that do like a reduced fee. And then there's also a lot of schools that have therapy clinics within them. So I was at Richmond Graduate University, and then we also had a therapy clinic there where people were charged like as little as $10 to $50 depending on their income, which makes it a little bit more affordable.
One thing I learned about, so one thing I just recently learned about too is actually through my job. There is we collaborated with some whomever, but it's called EAP, Employee Assistance. Help me out. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
But it's
Employee Assistance Program.
That's exactly what it is. But so what it is it's affordable therapy, or counseling, but they have what they call like a network. So long as these people are covered or are within that network, then you are able to take advantage of what they offer. So I thought that was pretty neat too. So going to your jobs to see what your insurance is paying for.
I would say that's a new thing too. Is insurance is now covering, if not all, a portion of therapy now.
I just pay a copay. Like I'm going to the doctor.
That's literally. But most insurances are pretty much all, because I have a few friends who are going, and their insurance completely covers it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, your insurance is definitely covering. Most of them are definitely covering visits. So that's something people should be looking into, because I don't know if people know that.
I agree.
And so I know we didn't mention this, but you also specialize, or you have certificates in sexual trauma, and what was the other?
I do sex therapy as well as trauma therapy.
Trauma therapy. Okay, so speaking from your expertise in trauma therapy, what are some activities you would suggest for a person who's experiencing trauma to kind of heal themselves, even if they can't afford therapy, for example, what could they do at home or with a friend to kind of heal themselves and work on the inside?
Networking with the people around them that are positive, that will be able to hear this and then hold that safe space. That's number one, because you don't want to go through this by yourself. And then also building life worth living goals, like things that regardless of where you are now, where you want to be in the future, like this is what I want to do, and then being able to focus on those positives. So it's really important to have something to look forward to. So you're not just like stuck where you are.
But I think that goes back to that village part though, because
say
sometimes
community.
we get to a point where we don't have anything to live for. Like, it's just like, but I don't have anything. So what? So I think it's very important. One of my favorite mottos is you cannot do life alone. I don't care how strong you think
that's so true.
You cannot
That
do
is
life
true.
alone. So really just, first of all, I feel like you just have to want to live. You have to want to live and know that you are worth living. Like your life is worth living. So having that village around you to kind of pick you up when you don't feel like it. So that's really good. That's
and
really
then
good.
also being honest with yourself if that's not how you're feeling. Like if you're feeling low and depressed and like, okay, my life isn't worth living, or
I feel like that's the first step, saying, I am depressed. I feel like that's so hard.
That's real.
That's so hard for people to do. I've had that struggle too, because I've been depressed. I've suffered with anxiety. And I think we have a habit, especially as Black people, to say, somebody asks you how you're doing, oh, I'm going through it. But we never will say, I'm sad. I'm depressed. You know what I mean? And I wonder, and I'll ask you this question. Have you noticed that dealing with people in the Black community, that they have an aversion to actually saying how they feel and dealing with the fact that they may be depressed?
Well, I think especially for Black women, it's the rub up against like the strong Black woman thing. Like I'm never.
Ooh, child.
You can have it. I don't want it.
I
don't want it. No. Not that I'm not strong, but I think seeing what it's evolved to today, I'm like, that's a burden I
That
just
narrative
don't really
is
care.
somewhat
It's
exhausting.
dangerous. I mean, to me, it's dangerous.
And dangerous. Absolutely.
It's dangerous.
We often don't even realize that that's the narrative we have going on in our head. We're just like everybody behind me was able to just pick it up and keep rolling. Why can't I?
As if all
That's
the other
true.
colors of women are weak.
Right.
What?
True.
Your voice. I just want to come lay on your couch. Listen to her talk so calm. I just want to come lay on your couch.
What's a misconception people have? We'll wrap it up after this, but what is a misconception that people have about therapy? Because I know before I went to therapy, I was like, well, maybe I'll be laying on a couch, because we watch it on TV and we see that, but we don't know what exactly happens at therapy. So can you tell us?
Well, number one, as a therapist watching TV, I just look at all the therapists on TV and I'm like, oh, that's not what happened. That's so bad. But number one, some people are like, I'm going to get there and then they're going to think I'm even worse than I actually think I am. Or that I'll receive this huge diagnosis. And most of us don't really want to diagnose you unless it's something really, really big. We just want to make sure that you feel better. Or that it's going to take forever. And that's not the case. Like, my goal is not to keep you for forever. It's to keep you till you feel good about standing on your own feet and then
release you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very nice.
All right. Well, this, again, another informative segment, another
so
informative
good.
conversation. Where can people find you if they want to come see you?
on Instagram you can find me. My name is long. It's miche.d.oliveras. And then online it's www.atlarc.org.
All right. Well, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you guys for tuning in for this very important discussion. We hope you learned something. We hope we have helped you release the stigma.
Yes.
Make sure you follow us on Instagram so you can get all this information at The Highlight TV. All right,
Bye,
ladies.
Highlighters.
Next time.